Welcome to NatRevMD, a podcast where we share tips on optimizing medical billing and improving practice efficiency so you can have the business of your dreams. I'm your host, Dr. Heather Signorelli, founder of NatRevMD. Let's get started. All right, welcome back to another week of the NatRevMD podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Heather Signorelli, and I'm really excited to talk to you as we enter into the new year. And today we're going to talk about really some kind of practical advice around doing an end-of-year audit for your private practice, for your life, a little combination of both. Because, at the end of the year, right, you want to celebrate the wins. You want to understand where you've been so that you can really clearly outline where you're going. I listened to a really good podcast from Mel Robbins recently, and she does her yearly audit. Huge fan of her if you don't already listen to her. And so today we're going to tailor this podcast to thinking about how you want to think about your year-end audit as you think about in the last 12 months, and then you can help kind of create your goals for 2025. I think first and foremost, everybody's had a good year, right? There are things to celebrate. Of course, we've all had challenges. We've had things that have come up, but we've got to take a minute and celebrate the wins. We've got to think about the things that you've done well, both professionally and personally. And then that way you can really reflect on really what's working, right? What's not working, what things you're going to change, what things you're going to continue, and what things you may start from scratch. So today we're going to walk you through 7 questions that really are about you as a leader, about you as a practice owner or a part or an employee of a practice that, say, you're not an owner, but really just what's your role and what's your ability to impact in your practice that you're working in or that you own. So I want you to think through about the financial success, personal success, and maybe even sit down and take a look at your calendar in order to kind of jog your memory on things that have occurred this year, or even your appointment scheduler, just to show you, how successful those patient payments or patient appointments were. So lots of really great things to be able to use to jog your memory on what things have happened. So the first question is, what are those highlights? And I do want you to spend time and actually have a written down piece of paper. So if you're listening to this, come back after and maybe listen to it again and be able to write down those important moments. So that question again is, what were the highlights of the past 12 months in your practice? And we want you to think through whether, again, you're the owner or you're an employee, what were the highlights of the practice? What things that you are proud of? What things did the team accomplish? What makes you smile when you think about, was it a patient interaction? Was it challenging thing that the front desk was able to accomplish? Was it letting go of a staff member maybe that, was holding the practice down? So what made you think, gosh, either this is why I became a doctor, this is why I opened my own practice, or if you're an employee, this is why I work for this practice, this is what I'm super excited about. And so again, this can be things like, did you implement a new, patient care strategy? Did you hire an amazing office manager who's transformed your practice? Maybe you were personally able to take a vacation that you deserved because your office was in a good shape, and then you were able to come back refreshed. So think through those moments. And that's where, looking at your calendar, or maybe it's a financial record. Maybe you had a rock star month and you want to celebrate that. So scroll back and think through, those milestones or those moments that you can say, yep, that was it. This was really important for me, and write that down. And, when I think personally about our own moments this year, we have gained several amazing new clients who trusted us to help their practices thrive. A few of them saw 20+% increase in revenue, which was really important, really great to see. We've also doubled the size of our own company, which was a milestone, right? We're trying to help as many practices as possible while also providing the best service we can. And so we also celebrated several employee anniversaries in our company, which is really important to me. I want to have people who want to stay and who want to work with us. We also hired our first director of operations, who has who's a certified coder, who's transformed how we think about day-to-day operations and also just taken a lot off of my plate, which has been great. So again, employee anniversaries with some amazing managers and senior managers that we've had on staff that I've really enjoyed getting to know. So these are important moments for us and things for me to think through as we celebrate our own wins this past year. So again, celebrating your wins, I think, is something that isn't just something we do to feel good, but it's about ways to understand, okay, how can I get that next win for 2025? Now we're going to kind of flip that and think through what are the hardest parts, or what was a hard moment in running your practice or working within your practice this past year. And this is where it's your own moment to either write down on your own or do this with your team about what kept you up at night. What made you question your sanity? Was it issues with staff or certain issues with patients? Was it a financial issue? Was it expenses or revenue dips? Was it, a billing issue? What was it that didn't go well? And maybe this is something that you can find on a calendar or a financial statement. Maybe it's something you brainstorm with your team, or maybe it's something that jumped to your mind right away and you knew exactly what it was. And so think about that, on your own, and have some time to really understand what those moments were, what happened, and then maybe some lessons around that you learned. So for us, this was actually a personal thing. We moved our family across the country. And while it was a very good reason why we moved to South Carolina, it also took a lot out of everyone. And it was getting the kids settled and adjusting to a new routine and managing the chaos of a move, and 4 dogs. I did say we have 4 dogs. So my husband had to drive across country with the dogs. So lots of craziness. Obviously, we've settled, the kids are great. All those fears of things not going well, we're all squashed, thankfully, and everybody is settled and happy. But it was a lot, right? And so it was something that, I'm glad we can check that box and move on. And then, professionally, I would say it's always hard adding new team members to the team and making sure that everybody's role gets settled and there's clarity around role responsibility. And so that was something that we really had to take time to focus on and really work through this year. And so that is going to be something that, I think if you guys are thinking about hiring in 2025, really thinking through, what those roles are, how it impacts other roles in your company, how you have clear roles and responsibility discussions ahead of time and after those new leaders come was a, just learning point for us.
If you are enjoying listening to the NatRevMD podcast, please subscribe wherever you're listening to our podcast. Leave us a review, because those are the things that help us get in front of more physicians. Thanks so much.
All right, so question number 3. What lessons did you learn about yourself, either as a leader, as a manager, as an employee, or as a physician or as an owner, that were important to you in terms of either how you celebrated those wins or how you handled, that stressful moment? And so, think about, are there certain parts of practice ownership or a part of your job that you're better at than others? And what are those things that maybe you're really good at? And what are those things that you need to work on or that you're not as good at? And does that mean you need to identify others to help you? Does it mean you need to find a mentor to help teach you? Or is it something that maybe can be delegated to someone else who maybe is better at that role? And so that's a really important thing to think through as you run a business, or as you manage people, or even as you have a position in a company. Really understanding what you love and enjoy, what you're really good at, and maybe some things that you may not love, you may not be good at, you may want to delegate, or you may want to get some more mentorship on. For us this year, having our director of operations on board, she's wonderful, and she's taken so much off of our plate and so helpful in terms of our practices. And so that has been really a big game changer for us. Her expertise has allowed, other team members to really focus on other areas that they can make an impact. And it's really been a win-win for everybody. And so something to think through about your own practice are there roles that you've been hesitant to bring on? Are there, things you've been hesitant to delegate, but you're not really good at? Write those things down. Think about those things and identify what that may need to change in 2025. And that kind of gets me to the next three questions, which really are about thinking through, okay, you've had these wins, you've had these challenges, I've thought about what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. So the fourth question is, what are you going to stop doing in 2025? And this is where it's going to get exciting, because these are the things you hate doing. These are the roles you don't excite you, they drain you, they keep you up at night, they create friction, they're just not working anymore. And so what are those things that you are going to stop doing? Now, obviously, if you're an employee, you're listening to this going, well, I can't really stop doing that. I understand that. There are always going to be things we all do that we don't love. But if you are in a position where you can delegate it differently, or you can carve out, a specific time of day that you're saying that's where I'm going to focus on that task, that's something to think through. But for those of you who do have an ability to say, gosh, that's draining me, I don't enjoy doing that, I can further delegate that to someone else. These are the things to write down, and just pick 1, 2, maybe 3 at most that you're just going to stop doing. Now, one of those could be micromanaging your team instead of empowering them to do it on their own. Are you taking on too many projects at once, or not able to finish one project while you're still dealing with other projects that haven't come to completion? So these are, important things for you to brainstorm on, and brainstorm with your team. Heck, brainstorm with your family even. If you're thinking to yourself, gosh, I'm spending too much time doing this when I have 2 grown children who could do that on their own. Those are the sort of things to think through as we want to stop doing certain things in 2025. Now, for me, that's going to be stop spending time doing things that I know other people are better at, so I can focus on the things that I am good at. And so, I really love helping practices solve more complex operational issues. I like thinking through the process, and improving them is really what excites me. So we decided for our practices, and this is truly just for our clients, we are showing up a different way this year. We started in December, and we'll carry this on in January and throughout the rest of the year, is practice success sessions, where we are going to sit down with the practices, the office staff, together as a group, and really solve complex operational issues, or just issues that are annoying for practices. So we did one on eligibility. We're going to do another one on patient AR. And really, that's why we started this company. And so I had to let go of things and hand those off to other people in order for us to be able to spend the time to do this with our practices. So that's one thing that, again, I'm going to stop and start doing. So it's a little bit of both. But so think about that. Again, sit down with your team, sit down with your family, sit down with all the people in your life and go, okay, here are the things I'm going to stop doing. And these are the reasons why. And then when you think about question number 5, right, that's what's going to be what you're going to start doing. It's one new habit, process, or mindset that you're going to bring into this new year. Is it regularly looking at your billing metrics every month? Is it going to do, looking at your expenses and understanding, why you may have had a cash flow issue in 2024, and what are you going to do about it in 2025? Is it investing differently in a new team member, or hiring a new person, or letting go of somebody in the team who continues to be a drag on everybody else? Maybe it's scheduling monthly leadership check-ins with your office staff. Those sort of things are the things you can start doing in 2025. And again, pick something that's meaningful, that addresses a challenge you had in 2024. And that way you're thinking through, okay, what did I struggle with? And then what is an action that I can attach to that struggle so that I have less of that pain or less of that issue in 2025? And again, really, really important to just start small and then build momentum over the year as you go. And again, you can revisit this, you can redo this exercise, all of those things. Just important to kind of think through, again, what are you going to start doing? Now, question number 6, what are things that you were doing in 2024 that you're going to continue to do? So for example, maybe you were looking at your billing metrics, and maybe that is something you want to continue to do. And you've been reviewing those and that's working for you. Or maybe there's a way you've been managing, patient phone calls or patient messages that's been really working. Great. Celebrate that win that's working, and then add that to the list of things you're going to continue to do. And maybe it's something on the personal side where you've been able to cut back a half day a week and you're managing a better work-life balance. I mean, all of those things are important and worthy here for you to discuss. For me, it's continuing our one-on-ones with our team members and reviewing our metrics multiple times a year. That works really well. It helps me stay in connection with them as they run day-to-day operations throughout the week. And it also helps me press the team when we may need to improve or ask questions so that I can help break down challenges and barriers or get the right leadership at the practice engaged, if we're not getting what we need from the team members that we're working with in the practice. And sometimes those happen, right? We get all overwhelmed and it gets difficult. And so that is something that's gone really well for us and I think has made us successful in 2024. So those are going to be things that we are going to continue doing in 2025 within our own team. And then the last question for you to think through is, what can you do today? So today, right now, listening to this podcast, that is a first step towards a better 2025. And so that is really important to actually say, okay, I'm going to act on this right now. So maybe you're going to get off this podcast. You've written down your challenges, your wins, your goals. What are you going to do next year? The first thing you're going to do is you're actually going to schedule the meeting, right? You're going to schedule the meeting to review your key metrics with your billing team or your office staff. Or you're going to sit down and schedule those monthly touch points with your management team and you're going to discuss strategies. Maybe it's meeting with the individuals that help you market or your front office staff to increase strategies, to increase patient volumes and make sure that you're getting those follow-up appointments scheduled. So basically, find something to do that you can do here today, tomorrow, quickly, within the next 24 hours, that allows you to make that next step for 2025. Heck, maybe it's the ability to add another physician or mid-level to your team. And so you're going to write the job ad. You're going to sit down right now and go write the ad that's going to be put on to, wherever you're hiring those individuals. Maybe it's blocking out time next week for a planning session with your team to sit down and go over these things as a team. Maybe it's writing down 3 priorities for January of things you're going to do in January, and you're going to cross those off. And so it's really important that you have something that you take action on to give you that momentum. And I'm a big believer in accountability, collaborating, again, whether that's with a spouse or business partner or your staff or your right-hand office manager. What are you going to do to take accountability and collaboration in order to ensure that, your 2025 is just as good, if not better, than 2024. Again, certainly don't need to do this just because it's January. I'm a big fan of doing this several times throughout the year. But because it is January and we are getting lots of questions around, goals and where practices are going as we are continuing to meet with our practices and getting information about where they're going this upcoming year, it's important for you to be thinking the same way. So hopefully, working through these 7 questions, you've uncovered a few important things that you've learned from the past year and that you're using those to shape your decisions and really set your practice up for a successful year in 2025. And of course, if you could do me the favor and share this podcast with your team members or even a colleague, and that just helps impact more and more practices, which is what we're here for. So again, thanks for listening and hope to see you on next week's podcast. All right, have a good day.